Welcome back to the Point of Order podcast, an inside look at California politics and the state legislature. I am your host, Assemblyman Josh Hoover, and back again. It's only been a month, but we have him back again, Assemblymember Greg Wallis. Welcome back, Greg.
Thanks for having me on, Josh, and
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me back so quickly.
Yeah, well, it's funny. The last 4 weeks has been you and Jeff Gonzalez, and then, or it was Jeff and then you, and then Jeff again, and then you again. So by now, you know, listeners are probably tired of you guys, but it's okay. It's fine.
You can't get anyone else on, so here we are.
No, but it's been fun. Like last week, Jeff and I reviewed that new Newsom book.
Okay, how'd that go?
Young Man in a Hurry. That was pretty fun. Gave him a little overview of that. Did you end up reading that one or not?
I haven't, no.
Yeah.
I said I was going to, and then we didn't get to it
I
yet.
don't know if it's worth your time, but there's a few nuggets in there that were interesting. So.
Okay. I might check it out on the plane or something.
Yeah, maybe if you have some time to kill and nothing else to do. So yeah, how things been going this last few weeks? You know, how's your bill package, all that good stuff?
It's been busy, but things have been good. This morning I was actually able to sneak in a haircut when I got up here, so pretty excited about that.
That's great.
Sacred Barbers. My girl Jess snuck me in at 9:30.
Nice.
So feeling good.
I love it. Good.
But yeah, bill package is moving along. You know, trying to figure. This year is a lot of district-focused bills, and folks, constituents come up with these ideas that we're trying to kind of work through. And so, very early stages, right? And we're kind of like, I'm not entirely sure how to make this happen. I understand the concept and what you want to do, but trying to make it a reality and make sure that it aligns legislatively with where the state's at. So
for sure.
Digging into some of that stuff, very boring, but not like any of these big headline grabbing bills. But I think we've got some good bills that are going to improve quality of life for the residents of Coachella Valley, and that's what
awesome.
That's what we're all about.
Love it. Yeah, it's definitely a busy time. I mean, this week I'm pretty booked solid, and then the legislature does adjourn for a week next week, so that'll be interesting. Give our staff some time to catch up on a few things.
Yeah, 100%. And you could be back in the district. I feel
exactly,
like I haven't had much time to get to all our, in my district, especially the eastern portion of it, the Coachella Valley is a very seasonal economy, right? So we're Thanksgiving to Easter, real busy. That's our season, our high time. And so there's just all these events and all these things I'd like to be able to get out and get to. So it'll be nice having a little week to get that done.
Yeah, we just wrapped up our first round of community meetings in the district. We did them with all our police chiefs. We actually have 2 new police chiefs in our district, and so got to introduce the community to them and sort of ask some questions about public safety. And it's so cool to be able to do that because we talk a lot about some of the state bills we've talked about. I know some of the things we'll get into today on Prop 36 or whatever it might be, but also just like the local stuff, the e-bike problems and the e-scooters and the people speeding and running stop signs in their neighborhood and stuff. So it's always a good time. So you and we were actually both at spring training this weekend.
We were.
So that was pretty fun. You excited about baseball season opening up? And
very excited. That was cool. I'd never been to spring training before, so that was.
Oh, really? So what was your
neat
opinion on it? Like just in terms of like.
I mean, I thought it was cool. Obviously we were going sort of at the end of spring training, so we got to see a lot of the starters. Yeah. I mean, seeing guys like Shohei, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman in such a intimate environment was I thought pretty special. So would definitely go back. Yeah,
that was neat. Definitely, I didn't appreciate seeing those players quite as much, but yeah.
I mean, the Giants game was cool too.
We did get to see some of the Giants players that nobody knows who they are, but yeah, it's.
Did the Giants win that game? I took off.
Yeah, 10-7. Okay. Yeah, it was really high scoring though. It was the final home game for them for spring training, and there was just all kinds of home runs and stuff.
And so that was that Scottsdale Stadium?
Scottsdale Stadium.
That's a pretty good ballpark.
That was
That's
fun.
A fun place to catch a game.
Yeah, that was really cool. Would definitely do that again. My wife and I did that last year for a couple games and just had a great time. But we were sitting in the sun, so that was a little rough. It gets hot out there. I will say the Scottsdale heat is even this time of year is ridiculous.
I was telling people all weekend, I'm like, I'm going to go beat the heat in Palm Springs and head out to Scottsdale. It's 2 degrees cooler. So
honestly, for you, it's nothing. I know that's true. So, also, have you been watching any March Madness? Because I know how's your bracket
A
doing?
little bit. My bracket's not looking too hot, unfortunately. We started off good, but that sort of second round there, a lot of close games. So
a lot of close games. Yeah, it's been tough. So Saturday I was in like first place in a bunch of my brackets, and then today I'm probably in like 15th or something. I mean, it just changes very quickly.
That's how it happens.
UCLA lost last night too, so I'm sort of losing interest already.
Yeah. Do you follow college basketball throughout the year? Or?
I follow UCLA and maybe a little bit of the Big Ten, just because that's who they're playing. But I mean, my son knows every conference, every player, every freaking team, and it's like, and so he keeps me informed.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. You can probably help with the bracket. I'm sitting there just hitting random buttons. I'm basically like, I like that.
That's kind of what I did, dude. Honestly, yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it's sort of all luck sometimes. I forget, there's like some Babylon Bee headline that was like, the girl from your office that doesn't even know how to distinguish basketball from like other sports is going to crush you in your March Madness bracket this year.
I was going with that strategy. It didn't work out for me this year, but maybe next year.
You never know, man. You never know. Let's see. Last thing. Oh, my staff put notes here for Project Hail Mary. Have you heard this movie or?
No, I mean,
or did you want to talk about The Bachelorette?
I wanted to talk about flag football a little bit. I got into that. Right. So I was really worried. I'd heard from folks that the airport lines were crazy, right? Everything going on with TSA. And so I got there way too early. And of course, when you do that, you walk right through. It took me 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I had all this time to kill at the airport. And they had that Tom Brady flag football thing going on.
That was cool.
Super interesting.
You texted me. I actually tuned in for a few minutes. That was pretty fun.
It was kind of fun. Well, and just coming off of, we did the legislative flag football game a couple of weeks ago. And so it was, I don't know.
That's cool. But what I was trying to figure out, like, apparently Team USA beat like the NFL guys.
Well, it's such a different game than football, right? I mean, we were watching just the way that they kind of are able to make moves and avoid their flags getting pulled.
Yeah,
I bet the NFL guys, if they put any time into practicing this, would
I saw some videos of like Joe Burrow running around and
everyone was scary.
Everyone's nervous that he was gonna hurt himself. It's like, can you imagine if he had hurt himself playing flag football?
Yeah, that would have been tough, but. Man, Tom Brady looked pretty good still. He's 48 years old. I'm like, shoot, man, let's suit him up for the Raiders. We need him.
Honestly, you could do worse.
Yeah,
you could definitely do worse.
But that was fun to watch. I'm kind of excited. I mean, I think there's some probably tweaks. I think there was an article that came out today where Brady was talking about incorporating more of like a 7-on-7 feel to it.
Oh, that's cool.
Get passing more involved in the game.
Did you see him and what's his name almost threw down on the?
Was it Logan Paul?
Logan Paul or whatever was out there.
I don't know.
That was I think it was just for clicks.
Yeah.
But it was a random group of people out there. It's like,
yeah.
Well, so what is where did this come from? Is it like?
Well, so I think it's an Olympic sport now.
Oh,
so
got it. Okay.
The USA team, and
so they're weren't playing with these guys to scrimmage or something.
Yeah. So they were trying to kind of figure out who's actually going to be on Team USA too, and I don't know that they've really, figured out what the criteria is going to be. So is it going to be like a bunch of NFL players, or
like
should
amateurs?
You have the guys who actually play flag football and do this all the time? And so I think this was like a little exhibition to kind of figure that out.
I don't know if NFL translates necessarily, but we'll see.
I mean, they're some of the best athletes in the world, so you'd imagine they'd be able to figure it out if they wanted to.
That'll be fun though, watching that as an Olympic sport.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it seems like it's super popular. I mean, I grew up playing Pop Warner football, and we always played tackle, but it seems like I'm seeing more and more of youth flag football leagues, taking off in popularity. So
yeah, my kids have done a couple. My oldest did one when he was younger, and then my youngest right now is about to get signed up for the summer. So
cool.
He's gonna play some flag football. It's just really big right now. It's really growing.
I mean, are you gonna go coach? I saw you caught a touchdown in the legislative flag football game.
That's true. Yeah, I burned Gary Link too. I don't know if he listens to this podcast, but longtime staffer and advocate around here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to coach. I'd be down though. If I'm available, I'll definitely. I'm not like a great football mind though. I'm not. I don't know.
But I mean, I think as we saw, flag football's a different game.
That's true.
You can figure this out.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, my son's looking forward to playing this year, so it'll be fun to watch that. The kids are getting really into it though, and it's just safer than regular football. So I think parents are a little more comfortable with it. Did you see this Bachelorette get canceled? I don't know if you're a
Yeah,
Bachelorette
so what happened
guy.
with that? I mean, well, in our group that we were with down there at spring training, they were talking about it at
No, like
breakfast.
the girl that they picked for the Bachelorette, she's on these other reality shows too, but she's been involved in a domestic violence dispute, and the video came out with TMZ throwing chairs at her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend or
jeez.
something. I don't know. It's not our clip of the week. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mainly watch, the Golf Channel and the Weather Channel, so I kind of miss a lot of the pop culture stuff
I only
that's
noticed
happening.
it because like my wife watches The Bachelorette, and when I say my wife, I mean me and my wife, but
Yeah.
I just don't want to admit it.
That's fair.
And it will not be happening this year, even
Okay.
though it's already fully filmed. They're canceling it. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty wild. I did see the movie Project Hail Mary over the weekend though.
When did you have time to do that?
Dude, it's just when you get older, like Nicole and I were just like, so like instead of going out on the town, we just went to the movies. We're
Oh,
like, we're
nice.
too tired.
All right, how was it? What did you think?
It's great. Great movie.
My notes say
Yeah.
it was one of the highest grossing openings for a non-franchise film in
yeah.
the last decade.
That's
so.
pretty cool. 80.5 million domestically, 95% Rotten Tomato score. It's a great movie. It's very long.
Okay.
It's like 2.5 hours long, which is, I don't know, it's a little long.
I think you and I were kind of talking about this over the weekend.
Yeah.
Was it like I fall asleep in movies now when they're too
I do
long?
too.
And
I
you
do
got those
too.
nice reclining chairs.
Yeah, and exactly.
And I don't hate it. It's not bad to get a little nap time in there, but
Yeah, this one though, you don't want to like. I wanted to actually see this movie.
Okay.
So I did stay awake for the whole thing. Shockingly, I did fall asleep at that Pixar movie a few weeks ago.
remember when Aquaman came out?
Uh-huh.
Dude, I fell asleep to that movie in theaters 3 times. I kept trying to go back and watch it.
I don't blame you on that one, dude. That was a sleep-worthy movie. But this movie was great. I'm glad I didn't fall asleep because it's a fantastic movie. But it's Ryan Gosling's like solo for a lot of it.
Okay.
So like he really has to carry. And those movies are always tough. But it's a good movie.
All right, I'll check it out.
Highly recommend.
Okay, I like that.
I won't do any spoilers, but it was a good movie. All right, we're going to start this week with our clip of the week. So there was a big CalOES oversight hearing on this next generation 911 project. This is something I've proposed an audit on as well, and so I was really interested in what was kind of talked about in this hearing. I'm just going to play a really brief piece that Ashley Zavala reported on, but essentially, we've spent $450 million taxpayer dollars on this system that was collected through phone fees and stuff. And now OES wants to scrap that system and start over. The LAO, our nonpartisan legislative analyst, is now like, hey, let's press pause on that. Let's actually look at what we can salvage here, because we really don't think we should be starting over unless there's a really big need to do that, right? Is this just like a preference thing, or is it something that actually needs to happen? So a lot of digging that needs to happen still on this, but I'll just play the clip and then get your thoughts.
Today, so what are lawmakers trying to do about this?
State lawmakers are facing pressure to provide more oversight on this whole situation that they worry could mean life or death. Since 2019, CalOES has been trying to upgrade the state's landline-based 911 system to one that relies on the internet. But it's been a slow rollout, now faced with cost delays, overruns, and the scrapping of a project taxpayers in this state already paid for. Officials with CalOES today took responsibility for those delays and cost overruns in an oversight hearing in the state assembly. The state's next generation 911 system so far has been a regional model, splitting the state into 4 parts with 4 different telecommunications companies involved. As you mentioned, CalOES spent more than $450 million on this, and now it's a system CalOES no longer wants to use. Officials cited call routing and dropping problems in areas where the new system had been used.
So, and we'll put the full clip in the notes, but just a little preview there for you. But yeah, have you heard on this, and what are you thinking on it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of understand where you're trying to go, and out in my area, I think it was Verizon and then Frontier that was running 911 service down there, and it makes sense to me to have something statewide that's consistent. But man, I don't know how you go to taxpayers and say, hey, we're going to make this investment. We're going to go move forward like this, scrap a project, and then say, actually, we need to come back for more money. I mean, you just lose the public trust on things like that. We do it so often in government up here. I haven't been following as closely as you have. So, I mean, what are some of the solutions? How can you get past this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the challenge, right? It's like, did we sort of, so there's some dispute on whether this regional system is good or bad. I think, I've talked with a lot of the different stakeholders beyond OES, right? And there's still a lot of belief that this thing can still work. It just needs to be given the chance to work. So, I think we'll see on that. But I think that's why we need like an audit. We need to dig a little deeper. Assemblymember Rhodesia Ransom was sort of the one that headlined this oversight hearing. And she's really laser focused on this too. So there's definitely some bipartisan, I think, opportunity here to shine a light on this. And I think like at this point, sometimes it feels like this desire to start over comes from all of the folks at the OES that built this regional system have all retired or left OES. And so it's all the new people that have come in that have decided that they want to change direction. The problem is it's a little bit late to change direction when the project's already been funded and completed, right? So
yeah, 100%.
I think that's where I think, but we definitely do want a system that works. I think that's where it's like, we have to have that. And I think there's also full agreement that the current system is really antiquated and it really needs to be upgraded, right? Like, I mean, a system based on like landline phones obviously is not something that's going to sustain you long term. We need something that's more internet based, that's more technological from the standpoint of instead. In some communities, you can now. I don't know if your community. I know in Sac County we can actually text 911 in a lot of places now, and you can do video calls and things like that too. So we definitely want to improve the system, but it's like, how do we best do that? So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think kudos to Assemblymember Ransom on this, and this is the legislature's role, providing that sort of oversight. So, these things do happen in government. I think it's pretty cool that there's a good bipartisan group here that wants to say, hey, let's dig into this and figure out what happened and make sure that that $450 million, that's not an insignificant amount of money. How can we make sure that that's beneficial to moving forward with this project? I mean, we're the and this always drives me crazy in this state, but we're the tech capital of the world here, and we just can't do technology in government for some reason.
We can't. We're so incapable. I mean, this is just honestly one in a list, right, of failed like projects, or there's so many different technology projects we've like taken on and then just scrapped.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. So it's really frustrating. I was texting with Assemblywoman Ransom over the weekend, and I think there's some real opportunity to work together on this. So looking forward to that.
All right, good. Let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah. So stories of the week, jumping in. I mean, the big one, obviously pretty hard to miss, was the Cesar Chavez investigation that released by the New York Times. Found a lot of really troubling things, including relationship with minors, inappropriate, obviously, sexual relationships with minors. But I think the real bombshell beyond that, right, was Dolores Huertas coming out and, really confirming these allegations in a lot of ways, and even talking about how she was herself victimized by Cesar Chavez. So, I mean, I would say this has definitely rocked the Capitol. Obviously, it's rocked the labor community. And there will be a bill this week. I think today, actually. We're recording this on a Monday. There's going to be an urgency resolution to change Cesar Chavez Day to Farm Workers Day, which I do support. But at the end of the day, just really, at least for me, something that came out of nowhere. I know there's other people, maybe it didn't, but it's pretty wild. So
no, I mean, I thought that was shocking. I had no idea. But, do you think you got to give the speaker and the labor movement a lot of credit on how swiftly they responded and being able to, get this urgency resolution onto the floor today, and making sure that, they're making a name change is something that was not a small feat and was probably pretty challenging to do. And there are a lot of tough conversations, I'm sure. So, tip my cap to them on their leadership for that. And I think, so often we can get into these partisan battles here, but not with this. The speaker was gracious enough to include a bipartisan coalition on this. So I think that the response, I thought, was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I did appreciate that. We actually were hearing over the weekend. We've got our California Hispanic Legislative Caucus now that was basically they did some outreach to us and asked if we wanted to co-sign this proposal. They kept the politics out of it, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think they also preserved, right, sort of the focus on farm workers, which are a group of people that deserve to be recognized, particularly in California, where we grow most of the nation's food. I think this is, I think it was a win-win, despite a really difficult situation. So yeah, I thought it was good. Another big, just like, again, starting with sort of the downers today, but big loss for the world. Chuck Norris passes away at 86 following a medical emergency, I think in Hawaii, but I don't know. Were you familiar with any of Chuck Norris's work?
Definitely watched a lot of Walker, Texas
Me
Ranger.
too, dude. Like growing up, it was crazy.
Hard show not to watch. It was
such a great show.
So Chuck will be missed.
Yeah.
There's I don't know. I think you've got it here on the notes, but
oh, dude,
lot of Chuck Norris jokes on there. My staff put a couple together.
Yeah. Which ones do you like? I don't know.
So they're kind of like dad. They're very
They
corny.
are.
But
They're so
when
funny.
Chuck Norris was born, he drove his mom home from the hospital. When Chuck Norris turned 18, his parents moved out.
Yep. I love those, dude. Yeah, I put some in the notes today just because like it's super fun to read them. But yeah, it's
This one's good. Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience.
I love that one. I love that one. I know there was a bunch too on him passing away. Like, Chuck Norris didn't die. He just, allowed death to take him for now or something, just like stuff like that. It's funny.
Yeah, he will be missed, but I think a lot of good coverage and tribute to him over the weekend. So that was good to see.
No, definitely a good guy. When I like this one. When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris. That's pretty good. Let's see if there's any. Oh, Chuck Norris can slam a revolving door. That's a good one. A king cobra once bit Chuck Norris. After 5 days of excruciating pain, the cobra died.
I heard that one over the weekend too. That is a good one.
Oh man, we'll put some links in the notes, but there's just endless supply of those things, and definitely sad, but great life, man, and lived a long life too. 86 is a nice long life.
Lived up in Assemblywoman Hadwick's district.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Heather was telling me that he was super involved in the community, went to a lot of like local sporting, high school football games, things like that. So just a great guy. Life well lived.
Yeah, I was talking to my neighbor last night who's just a martial artist. And he just brought up Chuck Norris right away because he's like, man, because he knows everything. I'm not a martial arts expert, but he knows everything about the degrees and everything. But he was like a 10th degree black belt or something. Chuck was. So
okay.
He's like, I don't know. Apparently that's really, really good.
Yeah.
And
sounds like it.
He did that movie with Bruce Lee. I think it was Into the Way of the Dragon. That was obviously iconic and even popped up in a bunch of other movies in recent years, Expendables and some of the other ones. So yeah, definitely a bummer. I know his family is.
Oh, that's right. He had a cameo in Expendables.
He did.
Right?
He was in there. It was crazy, man. So, but so RIP to Chuck Norris. I think moving on to some other stories, I think more locally, we had a big press conference last week that I sort of spearheaded. To oppose the release of oppose the release of Gregory Vogelsang, who is the second child predator to be recommended for release by the parole board in my community in the last 2 weeks. So it's kind of wild that these two back to back were from my district or victimized kids in my district. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty horrifying, and honestly, my community is very upset by this. But we did have a really, I think, solid victory for public safety last week. So we gathered, about 100 of us gathered on the steps of the parole board hearing, did a press conference and a rally opposing the release of this criminal, Gregory Vogelsang, who was convicted of over 24 counts of child molestation, victimizing 5 young boys in Citrus Heights, where I represent, and had been denied parole twice. And then in November, a small subset of the parole board recommended him for release. And just to the dismay of pretty much our whole community. And so what ended up happening is the full parole board was meeting to sort of finalize that. And when I talked to some of my local DAs, and usually that's a rubber stamp. They just say, okay, he's been recommended, he's good to go. And this time they said, we need to take another look at this. So they're sending him to another hearing to decide if there was a flaw in the decision-making process. But it means for now he's staying behind bars. He's not going to get back out. The other sexually violent predator, David Funston, who was released a week before, is also back behind bars because of the good work of the Placer County DA, bringing up new charges stemming from a case in the 90s. So, the good things are happening, but I'm really tired of playing whack-a-mole on this. I really don't want to keep having to oppose the release of each individual for every hearing. We got to change the law in California to make sure that, these guys are people that are not able to be rehabilitated, people that have harmed children are staying behind bars, and the community doesn't need to fear, or victims don't need to fear they're going to get out. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Huge credit to you on this. I know you sort of grabbed the bull by the horns with this and got a good coalition together. Saw that press conference. Thought you guys did a fantastic job, but no, couldn't agree with you more. I think there's a larger systemic problem here that the legislature needs to address. I mean, and you're going to know the details better than I, but they've got these parole board hearing meetings, right?
Yeah.
And in these interviews with the potential releasee.
Yeah.
Weren't these interviews pretty troubling? I mean, there was some stuff
that horrific, man. Like, they're horrific. I mean, in David Funston's case, it's so wild just to read the transcripts. Actually, at our press conference, Anne-Marie Schubert, who actually prosecuted David Funston when she was Sacramento County District Attorney, and basically called me and said it was one of the worst cases I ever saw.
Yeah.
And he should never get let free into the community. But she read his transcript at the press conference, and the parole board commissioner was like, "Are you still attracted to, young females?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Did you mean to say yes or no?" Like, basically giving him the chance to
you got that one wrong. Try again.
To fix that. And he said, "No, I meant to say yes." Like, these criminals are telling you who they are. They're telling you that they still are potential, risks to reoffend. And we need to listen to them. It's such a clear cut. Like, even the predators themselves are telling you they're still predators. It's really boggles my mind that we're even having this conversation, that the parole board would even consider these people for release. But that really stems from the legislature and the governor passing the Elder Parole Program, right? So, yeah.
So do you think that, is it the makeup of the parole board that's the problem, or you actually need to go fix the elder early release program?
I think it's both. So I think at the press conference, we also called on two things. So we have to reform the elder parole program, which basically, so just the history on that really quickly for those that aren't familiar. In 2014, there was a court order on prison overcrowding that basically told the state, you guys have to get your prison population down. That is kind of how the elderly parole program was born. So in 2017, the legislature and at the time Governor Brown passed and signed a bill that basically said if you serve 25 years of your sentence and you're 60 years old or older, then you can get considered for parole. Now, I have problems with that original bill just because some people you shouldn't be letting out even at 60 years old, right? If you want to let out, people that were nonviolent, okay, let's have that conversation at that age. Are these people rehabilitated? Okay, let's have the conversation. But sexually violent predators, particularly who victimize children, should not be included in that, right? So,
especially when they're telling you they haven't been rehabilitated.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah. So, and then in 2020, we made it worse. The legislature and Governor Newsom, we came back, lowered the age to 50. And time served only 20 years, which everyone asks me, first of all, in California, if you're a criminal, you're considered elderly at 50 years old, which is crazy. And people always ask, why on earth would that even, be suggested as needed, right? Yeah. It wasn't for prison overcrowding at that point. In fact, we were already talking about closing prisons at that point. So what was the reason? Well, if you go back and look at the legislative history on it, the author of the bill was worried about the spread of COVID-19 in the prisons. And so he wanted to let more people out into the community.
Oh.
And so, that bill was born out of the pandemic. And it was basically the author literally saying, I'm like paraphrasing, but he basically was quoted saying, we need to stop the harm of COVID-19 in our prisons. And so instead, he released harm into our communities, which is just crazy to me. And so, and then, not only that, but you're passing a permanent policy for a temporary pandemic, right? Which is really problematic as well. And so that bill was so bad, though.
So tell me you have a bill to fix this,
I
Josh.
do, absolutely. That bill was so bad, by the way, that it got bipartisan opposition. There were Democrats that we serve with right now that voted no on that bill.
Okay, good.
And so that doesn't happen a lot, right? Like a lot of these bills that pass, there's not a lot of opposition. There was like legitimate bipartisan opposition on that bill, and it still passed. So, so we got to fix that. We've got a bunch of great bills this year to help reform the system. Roger Nilo and I are proposing a bill, I think the most important bill, which would simply exclude crimes, like crimes involving children, sexual assault, a number of other serious crimes from elderly parole altogether. I think that has to happen. And then I've got some legislation that would also give the governor the authority to override the parole board in violent felony cases if he thinks that they made the wrong decision. But at the same time, to your point, like we also have to hold the current parole board accountable. And, Governor Newsom, to his credit, he opposed the release of David Funston. But then when they released him, he sort of put up his hands like, well, I don't really control this. It's sort of an independent decision. Well, the problem is he signed the bill in 2020 that made this possible, and he appointed the parole board.
Right.
So we've written a letter to him saying like, hey, you need to get these guys off the parole board. Anyone that supported these releases, just replace them. I think that's a pretty fair request of the governor.
I signed on that letter, so
you
I
did.
agree.
You did, yeah.
I agree.
You signed on to that letter too. I think if the governor truly, believes that this is wrong, and by the way, to his credit, he came out right after our press conference. He actually had a press conference on a different topic that same day, and he came out and said, I think we need to look at this. We need to look at reforming this program. So that's great. I mean, I hope that he means that and that he supports our legislation. But I think he also needs to take immediate action to sort of fix the parole board because, we can't keep seeing these people released in our communities.
Yeah, case by case, going out there and doing this isn't the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's just not going to work. In a related story, actually, they're talking about closing another prison, a 6th prison in the last few years. So it's kind of funny. We went from like prison overcrowding to now, I guess we're now 8,000 open beds in our prison system. And, sadly, I don't think we're talking about this because we have less crime. We're talking about it because we've changed the laws so substantially that I think we've probably swung the pendulum too far in the wrong direction where we probably aren't locking up as many people as we should be, or we're letting too many people out early. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But my philosophy on it is we need as many prisons as we have criminals that have committed serious crimes, right? So let's have that conversation. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at shutting down these prisons, it's not like you can sit there and reopen one when you need it very
really
quickly.
Difficult.
So
yeah.
I think that becomes a pretty scary, path to head down.
For sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on that this year.
When we talk with I'm sure you have the same conversations with your local sheriffs and DAs, but for a while there during that prison overcrowding argument, you had county jails that were full of folks who should have been up in state prison.
Totally.
And there just weren't enough beds. And so folks who really did need to be rehabilitated, go through the county jail process, they were just getting released back out into communities because there wasn't enough space. And so, I think you're spot on there. We're not seeing a reduction in crime necessarily.
No. Yeah, no, and it makes the job of our sheriffs a lot harder, right? Local law enforcement a lot harder when their prisons are filled up. And a lot of that comes from, 2011 realignment and all the policies that kind of started under Jerry Brown. But, let's just, let's have the right amount of prisons for the right amount of criminals. And let's not make our public safety laws weaker and put people more at risk. We actually had 4 victims at our press conference speak out, that had previously been victimized. And, one of them just expressed like, I was told this person would never see the light of day. Right. And yet now I have to go to, this is a different attacker, but now she has to go to every couple years to parole board hearings to talk about why this person shouldn't be released and why she would be at risk if he was released. And it's just, it's really hard to think that we don't consider the the feelings of the victims. Right?
100%.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you saw this. It was interesting. So Jeff Gonzalez was on the podcast a couple weeks ago talking about his proposal to suspend the gas tax. But since he put that forward, we've got 2 Democrats running for governor. I think Villagarosa's talking about reducing regulations on refiners and all this stuff. And then Matt Mahan is talking about suspending the gas tax. So it's
I texted it to Jeff the second I saw
wild.
that.
Like, it's wild. So we've got some bipartisan love for Jeff Gonzalez's proposal and 2, I would say, reasonable Democrats for governor that really think we need to fix some stuff on that this is costing Californians too much money. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a pretty common sense proposal here. Just a temporary suspension of the gas tax. You're going to backfill the lost revenue with general fund revenue, so you're not taking away any money from roads or infrastructure projects, right? That would be the concern there, right? We still need to invest in our roads and upkeep on the infrastructure, but if you backfill it with general fund dollars there. Why not give Californians a little bit of a break? Everybody knows affordability is the number one issue. You're looking at housing costs, energy costs, and fuel costs. And so this is a pretty simple thing we can do to put our money where our mouth is. I think last year, affordability became such a buzzword up in the legislature, it sort of lost its meaning.
Totally.
And a lot of it was rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. I don't know that we made any, I certainly wouldn't say that we made any real progress towards lowering costs, but this is a real tangible thing we could do right away to reduce costs, and I'm glad to see that it's got some bipartisan support. I don't know what that's going to translate to, but I think it shows that it's not this crazy partisan proposal here. It's something that just real everyday Californians who are sitting there figuring out how they're going to, pay their bills, put food on the table, and get their kids to their baseball games. How we can provide some temporary relief. Yeah,
and I think to your point, I mean, we have to do something, right? We have to do something on affordability. This is a very tangible way to do that, and it's a temporary thing, right? This we're not proposing that it be permanent, but I think at a time when, I don't know about your district, right? But gas prices in my district are over $5 a gallon now, probably getting closer to $6 at this point. It's just it's too difficult, and we need to give people some relief. So. It'll be interesting to see how this issue continues to shape the governor's race too. But I like that there's bipartisan groups talking about affordability. And I want to see the legislature do something bigger this year. I know last year they said the focus was going to be affordability. And to your point, I just don't think we did anything real. And if anything, we added some regulations probably, and we added some costs.
Yeah, I would say we basically just didn't increase costs as fast as we normally do. Like, we still did it, but it was a little slower.
Less,
and we took a victory lap on it, and I just don't think that's what Californians are asking for. So, no, I agree, and I'm glad to see some high-profile gubernatorial candidates on both sides of the aisle really talking about this issue and taking it seriously, because that's all I hear about when I go back to my district, and it's a real concern for a lot of Californians. So
for sure, yeah. So on that note, let's see, another big story this week, which I know might not be as much in your wheelhouse, but it is in mine, is the education space. Yeah. So we're going to have a big education hearing coming up this Wednesday. Actually, the day this podcast is going to release, in the afternoon that day, we are going to be sort of analyzing the merits of Governor Newsom's proposal to realign the California Department of Education under the governor's office, essentially, or and really just change how we structure our governance system for education in California.
It's not the craziest idea, right?
It's actually not, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm 100% for or against it today on this podcast, because I think there's a lot of devil in the details.
It's worth exploring.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah,
we got to talk about it, and this isn't, This isn't the governor. The governor is not the first person that has said this, and he's not even the person that came up with this, to be honest with you. There have been a number of reports. There's a group called PACE that put out a report on this topic that basically, talks about there's a lot of benefits to this proposal. The LAO just came out and said that this needs to be explored and could improve efficiencies and student achievement and outcomes, right? But it does, change a system that we've had in place for a long time in California, where where the state superintendent is sort of the head of the Department of Education. And what that has led to is a lot of like just dueling efforts, I think, on education, because it's the only sort of system and agency that's outside of the governor's like sort of reach.
Right.
And so it's just really, I think, overcomplicated right now. And so I'm really curious to see the governor sort of his arguments on this. I've actually already been meeting with stakeholders, the State Board of Education, education committee chairs and staff, and really trying to get a feel for what exactly is the governor trying to do here. And, you know, is it going to be better for students? Because at the end of the day, that's really all that matters to me, right?
Well, and we have to do something. I mean, you know, I am not on the education committee with you. My wife is a high school teacher at a public school, so I have some familiarity with what's going on. And I mean, we got to get our arms wrapped around student achievement and outcomes. That's just, honestly, it's embarrassing where California is for the amount of money we invest into this system. And I think we have some fantastic teachers. I think we have kids that are very capable of being successful, but we're just not connecting the dots, and it's definitely a policy failure. So, you know, the current system's not working. The status quo definitely can't remain in place. I kind of like the idea of exploring all, you know, potential paths forward here, because at the end of the day, these are the next leaders of California, right? And if we don't have these kids prepared to be college and career ready, we're really failing them and failing the next generation of Californians.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think something's got to give on this. I don't think this is going to solve all of our problems, but I think this does have the potential to realign things in a way that can make our governance of education better, like the bureaucracy better. I will say I've not been overly impressed with the Department of Education, and I do think there needs to be more accountability. And I think this can actually bring more accountability, and it also honestly allows lawmakers to put more accountability on the governor for improving education, which I think is another big part of this. I've had some folks on the right, you know, Republicans that I really admire and appreciate their opinions, reach out to me with concerns that this is sort of a power play by the governor, right? It's sort of like, you know, well, the governor's just wanting to control more of education. It's like, sure, but we have to remember that the governor's leaving. So this governor is not even going to benefit from this proposal, first of all.
Right.
Second of all, there is a world where we have a Republican governor at some point in the future, right? And so if you were to have a governor, Democrat, Republican, whatever it might be, that person's going to want to have an agenda on education. They're going to want to have more control over education. And I will say in the past, a lot of people forget the history on this, but when we have had Republican governors, when Schwarzenegger was governor and Pete Wilson was governor in California, we had, I believe in both cases, Democratic state superintendents that were very confrontational with that administration because they could be. So they actually did everything they could to block reform and block the agenda of the governors at the time on education specifically, because they had the power over the Department of Education. So it also creates those political battles that we just don't need in California, you know. And I think this proposal has the opportunity to really hold the governor, whoever that is, more accountable and give them more power on this to shape education in a better way. Who knows? Someday that might be another Republican governor. We don't know.
Will be interesting to follow your hearing on Wednesday.
Stay tuned for that. It'll be an interesting one. Be asking lots of questions. I think I'm pretty much out here. I put this in here a couple of weeks ago when it came out, but how Vice President Harris canceled all of her book tour stops. She was going to come to Sacramento next month on her book tour. I don't know. They all got canceled. Oh, well, you know what happened with it is it came out that like taxpayers were funding all her security detail.
Yeah, that's right.
And people were pretty up in arms. I don't know if that's why she canceled it, but that definitely didn't help. So, all right, do we do satire headlines before we let you go? What do you think?
Yeah, what do you got?
I don't know. Let's find out. I always like, you know me,
You love the Babylon Bee.
I love the Babylon Bee, and I love just like not looking beforehand. See what's up for today.
My notes just have a link, and this hyperlink isn't doing me a whole lot
That's
of good
true.
on paper
You just
right
have
now.
paper. Okay, so the first one here, I'm going to click into because I think this is affecting a lot of people right now. But 8 tips for getting through TSA faster.
Okay.
Let's see what the Babylon
What do
Bee
they got?
recommends. Okay, arrive at least 1 week early for your flight. So that is that's good. I don't know what this means. Naruto run through the line. I don't know what that reference is. Bring a car horn and honk at everyone ahead of you who is moving too slowly. Show up to the airport naked, a massive time saver that makes any pat downs unnecessary. Declare all knives, firearms, and giant anime swords before you get to the scanner. Ask people ahead of you if you can cut in line because you have a plane to catch. I think have you tried that one? I'm sure that one will work.
I've never tried that one, but people definitely do it. And I'm kind of like, well, we all do.
Just tell security that you're just carrying an emotional support box cutter. That's pretty rough,
Oh,
dude.
jeez.
And then build a time machine and go back to the 1990s, which, honestly might be the only solution at this point. How's your flights been this week?
I've
though?
had some good luck at the
I feel
airport.
like we flew the weekend. I was fine, but I think it depends on the airport, right?
Well, I mean, so we were flying out of Phoenix, right? And I had heard that early, was it Saturday morning? It was a mess. The TSA lines,
Okay.
even for
Got
pre-check,
it.
were
Yeah,
out
yeah.
the door. So I think some of it's sort of dependent on, what time you get there. And my guess is if you're a TSA agent and you're not getting paid and you've got the shift that's from like 2 a.m. to 8
Yeah.
a.m.,
Yeah.
you're probably less likely to come in than
fair
someone
point.
who's going in at a more normal
Yeah,
hour
it's a fair
business.
point.
But they also told me, and this had never happened before when we were flying down there for spring training. So I've got clear. I can go right through, go through the TSA pre-check. And there were 5 people in a row, me being one of them, that got randomly selected for additional screening. And so I'd asked the TSA agent about it, and she said, just with everything that's going on globally here, we've got, a lot of heightened security measures in place. So sorry about that. And I'm like, oh, great. So they're having you guys do additional screenings on 10 times the amount of people, and there's half the staff here. And so I think that probably contributes to it. But I have been fortunate, haven't had any issues yet, knock on wood. But even on our, on our text threads this morning, we were seeing folks that were
like delays, cancellations. Crazy.
Yeah, they got to get that fixed.
This is
Fund
just
the
unacceptable.
TSA.
This is just unacceptable. So here's a few more Babylon Bee headlines. Paddle boat ride enjoyable for 7 seconds. Have you ever been in one of those paddle boats?
I have.
I just think that's funny.
I have.
St. Peter gently asked Chuck Norris to stop roundhouse kicking the cherubim. I like that one a lot.
That's a good one.
I actually saw one over the weekend too that was like when Chuck Norris got to the pearly gates, St. Peter, or he asked St. Peter to show him his ID or something like that. Like, it was hilarious. Let's see. Man smokes cigar in desperate hope to feel sick and become unattractive to wife. I think that's pretty funny. Are you a cigar guy? I'm not a cigar guy.
I don't like them.
Jeff Gonzalez, by the way, big cigar guy.
Big cigar guy.
Formed the cigar caucus even.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a big cigar guy. I'll drink bourbon or something with you, but
I don't mind like the idea of smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
It's the smell that you can't get rid of afterwards that just drives me crazy.
yeah, exactly. Okay, another list, 10 ways to honor Chuck Norris. You ready for this?
All right.
Perform a 21 roundhouse kick salute. Punch a shark in the face. Wear a duster to work and beat up the office printer. Name 7 bad movies in 1985. Let's see. Oh, man, is there any good ones on here? Let's see. Rewatch your VHS copy of Sidekicks. Subscribe to the Babylon Bee. Very, 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 very clever. Let's see what else we got here. Any other good ones? California this is probably a good one to end on. California abandons $250 billion study on why it has so many unfinished projects.
You know what? My Uber driver brought that up
Did
to
he?
me. It was pretty funny. He's like, I don't know, your political affiliation, but I don't know. He was talking about government shutdown, how we need to fund the TSA and that stuff.
Yeah.
And then he brought up that headline. He goes, have you heard of the Babylon Bee? I'm like, oh, well, I think I know what yours is. And that was the article he brought up. And I was like,
dude.
are you sure that's not a real headline?
Dude, seriously. But actually, that was such a great encapsulation of what's going on right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, we need to abandon that study of all the projects we can't finish. It's just really, sadly, that's just our reputation right now. And it is sort of embarrassing because like you said earlier, we're such a technological hub for the world, basically, and we can't figure this stuff out. So
I feel like Californians are, catching on to it too. I mean, when you look at even a few years back, it was Proposition 1 when they were doing, mental health treatment dollars. And I think it was a $7 billion bond that barely passed. I mean, I think the governor had like a ballot harvesting team and ballot curing team ready to go on that. And it's just, something like that, I think 10 years ago would have, I mean, obviously we need to invest in these, state mental health facilities. And
I agree.
That's probably a worthwhile investment. But I think you lose the public trust when you can't deliver on that. When you look at things like, the water bond. I mean, how long ago was that passed? How much money
over
was
10 years
allocated to it?
12 years.
And what do we have to show for it? Californians, I think, are willing to say, hey, we'll pay for those infrastructure projects. We'll support it. But at a certain point, that's got to go both ways, and we actually have to be able to deliver on some of these promises, or we're going to lose the public's trust. I think you're starting to see that. So I do think that would be a good thing for the legislature to focus on this year, provide some oversight on these things, and really figure out where these tax dollars are going and how we can deliver the projects we claim we're going to get done.
Yeah, there should never be like an aversion to accountability, right, or to oversight. I think that's a win-win bipartisan issue no matter what. And, even if it sort of like calls out some problems in a program that you like, I mean, it gives you an opportunity to fix it, right? So I think that's really the goal. But any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
It was fun hanging out at spring training. We'll have to do that again next year.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can go catch a ball game this season.
We should. I'm really stoked. Actually, the Giants and the Yankees are kicking off opening day this Wednesday, I think.
Okay,
the day this podcast comes out. I think it's going to be on Netflix, which is weird.
That is weird.
It's like opening night on Netflix or something.
All this, the different streaming platforms. Look, I'm a golf fan, so I already have all of them because that's how you have to watch a golf tournament.
Yeah, golf's the same way. It's
jump
crazy.
to all these different platforms, but you're like, my goodness, can we just go back to cable?
Honestly, yeah. At this point, it's like, hey, is there a service that puts everything in one place?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's called cable. Yeah, I'll be watching Netflix this Wednesday. Giants, Yankees should be fun. So, next episode in a couple weeks will be a new guest to the show. Actually, the mayor of my city in Folsom, Justin Rathel, really cool guy. So he's going to be joining us and talking more local stuff, and also we'll talk some state stuff as well because I can't help myself, but. If you've got emails for the show, you can email pointoforderpod@gmail.com. Speaking of which, that reminds me of another Chuck Norris joke, that Chuck Norris's Gmail is gmail@chucknorris.com. Which might have been the best one that I saw this weekend. And you can watch and subscribe, follow YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Facebook at Point of Order Pod. And you can follow both of us on X, myself at Joshua_Hoover, Greg at ASM Wallis. Greg, as always, great to have you, and have a great week.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
See you later.